G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and welcome back to the next round of the Toyota Gazoo Racing GT Cup, the official season for 2022. We're back at Suzuka. Would you bloody believe it? We're back at Suzuka. I think Polyphony just have a bit of a thing for Suzuka because we seem to be here every week. But I guess it's okay. I don't mind Suzuka. But today we're here in a one-make race, driving the brand... Well, I say brand new, it's not really new, but it's new for GT7, the Toyota Supra GT500, basically the Castrol Supra, which everyone seems so insane about. Everyone loves the Castrol Supra, and here we are driving it for this Suzuka round here. Now, the car's slotted into Group 3. But I did notice the car felt a little bit understeery. We are only on the medium tyres and not the softs, so maybe a little excursion on the soft tyres may help. But for this qualifying session, we just have to focus, obviously, on getting the best lap we can. We did come out of the pits just directly behind Andrew, but I wasn't able to sort of stick close to him, and Stirls ended up getting past. So we'll just give him a slight air gap as we fly into turn 1. Make sure we don't go off here, because that is one of the biggest things about Suzuka. Obviously, we talk about Suzuka turn 1 every time. We actually make a little bit of a hash at the exit, actually, getting a little bit too wide off turn 2, getting a kick of oversteer, and then I just turn in too early to 130R, clatter the curb on the inside, and it pushes the car out wide, and I'm not able to commit back to the power. So it hasn't been the best lap so far, but thankfully what seems to be the norm in GT7 here is a 10-minute quali session, which is really good because it actually gives us 3 or 4 chances almost at a good qualifying lap. That first banker there is a 159.2. We're going to stick with this behind Stirls here. Maybe we can sort of clean up our act a little. I always tend to go a lot better on the second lap as Meta 7 is... Oh, he's off the track there, and that was a little bit of a hairy moment there. I wasn't sure if he was going to rejoin or not, but looking just now, it looked like he was well aware there were cars coming. It was just combined with a little bit of oversteer there. Stirls makes a mistake, runs a bit wide through turn 5, which puts him narrow for 6, and he ended up washing wide, slot up the inside there, and by the end of that lap, it was actually quite a decent improvement, about 4/10. We dip into the 58s. For this following lap here, we have another chance. We're going to finish up this lap and see if it's an improvement on the 58.8 as we come across the line. That one is going to be a slight improvement by 1 1/4 tenths. But yeah, turn up your volume for this one. This is going to be my fastest lap of the session. Okay, that's alright. Pretty crap 130R. Pretty garbage. So at the end of the day, we actually did get a decent quali time on the board, of 58.5 it was at the end of the day. I was aiming for a mid 58, so I managed to actually achieve my goal, and it's put us provisionally 5th. We'll see where that puts us as we go to the grid shortly, but again, I had a little bit of a funny 130R. I seemed to just be too I don't know what the word is, too eager to get the turn into 130R done in qualifying, I guess in fear of running wide, and I ended up turning in too early again, so there was still time left on the table, but at the end of the day, before we start the race, it's got to be 6th, so Ranger Oz actually improved on his last lap and managed to actually get in front of me, but let's get underway. Metal Gear chops to the inside and gets a really poor start, so we're straight down the inside. We've made a position off the start. We've got an overlap on Psydog, who's got to hang around the outside. Lovely little move off the start there, but I tend to be a little bit more passive on the start, so I'm not really going to try and fight that too much. Metal Gear actually recovered quite well off the start there. He's about half a second behind me as we're sort of floundering through this opening sector on the cold tyres. We seem to be just losing touch with the quartet up ahead of us, and Metal Gear is well and truly under my rear wing, only 2 tenths behind, and if there's something about Metal Gear, he's not going to hang behind somebody he knows is slower than him, so he's going to be looking to get this move done as quick as he can, and he's basically going to do it at any part of the track. He's going to do it at the first part of the track where he can actually get an overlap, and I dare say it's probably going to be this hairpin, although we get a pretty good exit out of Degna 2 on that particular time, so we just got to make sure we hit our mark here. We've actually gone slightly deep there. Metal Gear has seen that and straight up the inside, and to be completely honest with you, if that was only a matter of time, there was not really going to be a chance that I'm going to be able to stay ahead of Metal Gear for 14 laps here at Suzuka, upwards of, well, pretty much almost a 30-minute race here. So yeah, no, Metal Gear straight up the inside, that's fine. We're back down into 6th, which is where we started, and that should be all good there. Okay, the strategy. Okay. Dodgy start, but it's alright. Actually, I have just seen the gap behind is about 7.5 tenths nearly, so we've got a little bit of an air gap behind to sort of give us some breathing room and allow us to get in a bit of a rhythm to hopefully avoid any more mistakes. But the strategy for today is kind of interesting actually, which is good because there seems to be sort of a load of nose stopping happening at the moment in Daily Race C. I don't think we've had one Daily Race C at all in the life of GT7 which requires a pit stop. But it's nice that in these championship races we do get a mix-up of strategy. Now the nose stop, was actually a strategy on the table, and it's actually the strategy that the majority of people are going to go for, or I think on paper the nose stop is the quickest strategy. However, I think the one stop was actually a good alternative as well, because the time multiplier here is actually pretty high, given the combination. Suzuka, 14 laps. I forget what the exact number is, it might have been ×5 or something, but it's quite the journey to do on one set of medium tyres. So a lot of people were actually, or some people were going to elect to go in the pits. Now the difference between the two strategies was only a couple of seconds, so it was really, really, really important. If you're going to go for the one stop, you absolutely cannot afford to get stuck in battles as you fight back up through the field, as you fight back past people after you've done your pit stop. Obviously you're going to pit, a load of people are going to get past you, you've got to try and get those positions back, and you can lose a lot of time potentially fighting as well. And any potential one-stopper is going to go at about halfway through the race, lap 7, so a lot of the people that they're going to have to re-overtake are going to have pretty crap tyres. And if you catch up to them through that opening snake section here at Suzuka, that's definitely not going to be ideal in any stretch of the imagination. But as for myself, I actually tried the one stop in a practice race, and I was basically actually racing Meta 7 directly. So he's currently 1.3 behind us, but in our practice race just before the slot here, we did a practice race. He did a no stop, I did a one stop, and it was like really, really close. It was almost too close to call exactly which strategy was going to be the best. I had done quite a few practices before that to try and sort of see whether I could nose stop, and I actually never successfully managed to complete a nose stop without crashing, because you'll see as we get towards the later stages of this race just how much tyre wear ends up on the car, and then I'm sure from there you could probably imagine just how difficult this Castrol Supra becomes to drive. But let's see what we do. Basically, if we had clear air, we were going to stay out, and I think I've already mentioned I actually did the nose stop in this race, so we'll see how that works out for me. But as we go through this opening section on the third lap here, you can see the gaps around me are just opening up slightly. The gap up to Metal Gear is about 0.8 of a second. The gap behind to Meta 7 Gear is about 1.3 behind. Now, some people might look at this and go, all the gaps opening up, that's no good, that's going to be boring. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. If anything, I probably prefer just a nice quiet race on my own where I can just lap cleanly and consistently, because I find that a lot of my best results come from when I'm just able to lap consistently and when I'm able to just minimize time loss, just basically doing everything I can not to lose time. But there was really nothing to talk about, really, for the majority of that first stint there. We've come up to lap 7, which is the end of the middle lap of the race here, and there's actually one car ahead of us that curiously decides to try this one stop. That's Ranger Oz. He's pitted in from up ahead, and John Teeter behind is actually pitted as well, but we shouldn't have to worry about him. But that's going to be really important, because we saw just how touch and go the one stop versus the no stop was in the practice race. So the fact that Ranger was up ahead of me, a little bit of quick mathematics tells us that Ranger Oz is going to have to pass me to get back to the position he was in before he pitted. And we're going to find out how Ranger's progress is going as we meet back with us on lap 10 here as Taz Racer goes into the pits. There's Ranger.
Hey, look, there he is!
Ranger has revealed himself down in 8th position. He's on the totem, and that's him heading that train of 3, currently heading down the main straight as we're heading into turn 3. So that's a good gap there. It's probably, I don't know, a good 15 seconds or so behind, and with 4 laps to go, you might think, 15 seconds, you've got that in the bag easily. Not so fast, because as you can tell by now, some of my tyres, especially the rears, are actually almost approaching 50% tyre wear as we have a moment out of the final turn. Alright, be careful coming out of there now. You can see the fastest lap of the race is currently a 58.7. My previous lap was a 202.9. So the tyre wear is, quite significant, where I'm losing probably upwards of 3 to 4 seconds per lap. I'm in no way going to be able to actually get that 58.7 in on a fully well set of tyres, I guess. There's going to be no way that I can actually achieve that lap time, but I could probably be getting 59s, and now I'm almost in the 203s, so 3 or 4 seconds per lap I'm losing. You can imagine Ranger Oz on a fresh set of tyres, he's probably in the 2-minute lap times. He's probably also in the 159s because he had the pace on me in this combination, so he's probably comfortably in the 59s as we speak. So if we once again employ a little bit of mathematical knowledge, we can see that lap time difference between myself currently running in the 202s, 203s, and Ranger Oz probably in the 59s to 2 minutes, there's definitely a few seconds per lap as we skated into the hairpin on the rear brake, just doing a quick little downshift to first, and that just locked up the rear wheels, got the back end to slide into the corner and trying to get the car rotated, because this thing is definitely a little bit understeery at this particular stage in the race. There's not much interest between the tyres and the road at this particular stage. But as we round out through Spoon, we have to be really careful now, because that back left tyre definitely on that sort of 50% tyre wear area. Obviously fuel here is no issue, as we've barely used it, or we've just about used a quarter of a tank. But if we have a look on the track map up in the top right hand of your screen, you saw how big that gap was to Ranger just when he sort of appeared on the bottom of the totem on the left hand side there. That gap up there, he's now sort of coming up to the back of Meta 7. Meta 7's also on a no stop, so that gap's going to be closing quite quickly. But what was going through my head at this particular stage was that I knew Ranger was catching, and I kind of had the feeling that I was not going to be able to be in a position where Ranger would not catch me on his strategy. But I knew he had Meta 7 ahead, and given the late stages of the race, it's highly likely that Meta 7 would probably try and defend his position, which would do me very, very well, because when it comes to defending on worn tyres, it's quite hard to do. So pretty much as much defending as Meta 7 can possibly do is only good news for my race. It'll just make sure that gap to Ranger stays as big as possible for as long as possible to give me the best chance of actually being able to keep this position. But as it stands right now, he's got 2.8 seconds behind Meta 7. Actually, it's opened up to 2.9 there. So once Ranger gets past, that's really barely a lap that I can stay ahead in terms of how much time the Ranger I'm losing. Oh. But I've looked behind on the exit of Degna 2, and that gap has opened up to 3.7. Ranger Oz is past Meta 7, so there's been a move through the Degnas, and they've lost a bit of time. Ranger Oz is going to get me, I think. And when I saw that gap was 3.2 seconds, and when I saw that I still have essentially about a lap and a half to go, that lap time delta between us did not quite add up in my head. I don't think that gap behind was big enough compared to how much time I'm losing per lap. So I was really quite worried about Ranger Oz at this particular stage. As we exit Spoon, that gap's down to 2.9 seconds on the exit there. I'm definitely losing more than 3 seconds a lap to him, so I'm really quite worried about what this last lap is potentially going to bring. So let's sail through 130R to try and minimise... Oh, he's made a mistake. Minimise the time loss, but as we're heading through there with 1 lap to go, something has happened to Ranger Oz behind. He's 7 seconds all of a sudden. He's got a 7-second gap, and what I thought at the time is that he made a mistake on the exit of Spoon or something, but he actually had a 3-second penalty from a coming together with Meta 7, which is why they lost so much time through the Degnas. The particular incident was nothing too bad. In terms of, or nothing too sinister really, it was just a massive difference in tyre. A slight bump on the back of Meta 7 put him off the track, and that's just because of the sheer tyre differential between Ranger and Meta 7. So Ranger had to serve his sentence for that one, which was a 3-second time penalty at the penalty serving gate here at Suzuka, and that's just put him far enough off the back such that I don't really have to worry unless I make a massive glaring error. Even with the level of tyre wear that's currently on my car, I really should be okay to keep this position because I'm not quite losing 7 seconds a lap to him. You can see through that opening sector there though, it's down to 6 seconds, so I've lost a second so far, and we'll see what my lap time delta is as we cross this sector split. It's 2.1, so we're actually 2.1 seconds down on what was our current fastest cumulative of the race, because that is the second sector split of the track. Ranger Oz down to 5.3 or 5 seconds as we head through the hairpin. That's 2 seconds gained. It'll be interesting to see just how close this gap becomes by the end of the race, because as we were heading through, heading down the back straight, heading on the exit of Spoon, exactly 1 lap ago, that gap was about 2.9, so he's currently gained 2 seconds this lap. So if he gains another 0.9 before the end, we know that he would have been right on us as we... Yeah, Ranger definitely would have had me. Absolutely. Right as we are going across the line, but if we have a look at that gap behind, that's 4.7. He's gained 2.3 so far. Heading through 130R, we're going to be fairly safe to actually take this 5th position. Only 1.6 seconds off the back of Psydog, which is honestly not a bad showing. But if we have a look behind that gap, down to 4.3, 4.2, that's 2.8 seconds gain on the last lap, 4.1. That's 4 seconds, so he gained 3 seconds on that last lap in comparison to me. So the fact that that gap probably would have been about 2.5 as we were going to exit on the main straight tells me that if Ranger Oz did not have to serve that penalty, he definitely would have been really, really heckling me in terms of the position. He probably would have got me into the chicane at the very latest, to be honest, into the final complex of corners. But anyway, Ranger Oz, unfortunately, fell victim to the downfall of the one-stop strategy today, and that is the traffic and making sure you can overtake the cars cleanly that are still on their no-stop strategy. And Ranger Oz, unfortunately, had a little bit of a tangle, and that just meant I'm able to gain 1 position up into 5th and able to bring home 284 points. So I'm actually fairly happy with that race, to be completely honest. Sort of off the back of Metal Gear Psydog, not too far off. I've sort of felt pretty I felt pretty good about that one, and I think that's a really good point score to continue my Toyota GT Cup campaign. But that's going to finish up this video today, so do hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos and streams from me. Do leave a comment as well, as questions, comments, and constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.